Hello YouTube, this is Asatsu 5 and today I'm going to be reviewing the Cold Steel Pro Lite with a few references to the Cold Steel Roach Belly. It's going to be a guest appearance, or it's going to make an appearance in the review as well, comparing and talking about yes, the Cold Steel Pro Lite. The Pro Lite was discontinued for a while now, and they just brought it back for 2016 with some modern upgrades, a new look, and going to talk about it. First off, a little disclaimer: both of these knives belong to my brother. I have EDC'd the Roach Belly and I like it. I have EDC'd the Pro Lite and I like it, but I haven't got as much use on the Pro Lite, or I haven't carried it as long as I would like, due to a couple things. One, I lost it at work and I don't want to lose my brother's knives. Normally, you know, if I lose my own knife, it bums me out, but I don't want to lose something that doesn't belong to me. So I stopped carrying this knife at work, and I only started carrying it when on the weekends and after work, when I'm just going into town and hanging out, because the seats in the work truck that I work in have holes in them, and those holes like to snag the pocket clip and those other things that the pocket clip could snag onto and fall out of your pocket. So I decided to quit carrying it at work and only carrying it basically on the weekends. I do got plenty of use for it. In fact, I had a use for it for today, and so I got plenty of experience with the steel that this is made out of, which is 4116 corrupt steel. Both of these knives are made out of that steel, and they're basically both made out of the same material, as far as the handle is concerned, and well, maybe not the handle. It's similar, but I don't think it's exactly the same. Well, let's get the stats out of the way, because that's normally the boring part. You can look that up. The Pro Lite is has a blade length of 3.5 inches. The overall blade length, or the overall length, is 8 inches. Steel is 4116 corrupt German stainless steel. The weight is 3.2 ounces. The blade thickness is 3 millimeters, and the handle is 4.5 inches. Nylon reinforced, fiberglass reinforced nylon. Fiberglass reinforced nylon. Getting tongue-tied, sorry. The Rockwell Hardness. Now, I don't know this for a fact on the Pro Lite. That's why I'm looking it up on the Roach Belly's web page. Is 56 to 57. So I'm assuming that these are made out of the same steel, have some of the same standards for sharpness and edge retention as each other. So Cold Steel is going to put the same Rockwell hardness on both of them, I'm assuming. So remember, 56 to 57, which is relatively soft. Which is a very key point to remember. These steels are very soft steels, or these knives have very soft steels, and you probably, some of you might not be interested in that because you want the newest, hardest steel that has the most edge retention, so you can go the longest amount of time without sharpening. And my brother has a very, very different outlook on blade steels. My brother is, I'm not going to say a master knife sharpener and grinder, but he is very close to it. So he would rather have a steel that's slightly on the softer side that he can touch up on a daily basis and maintain that razor sharp edge a lot easier without devoting a lot of time to sharpening. So he actually likes the softer steels. He likes AUS-8, he likes 4116 corrupt steel, he likes H1, which I'm going to make a reference to that as well. My brother likes to carry this blade steel, the 4116 corrupt surgical stainless steel. He likes to carry it to the beach because it's highly corrosion resistant, and normally at the beach you're cutting really dirty things. In fact, one year when we were doing helping our dad with some work on our shed at the beach, my brother was cutting roofing tile or shingles with his kudu, which, if you don't know roofing shingles has a bunch of rocks and tar in it. Really nasty stuff. You really don't want to cut it with your pocket knife. But with the Kudu's like the cheapest folding knife that Cold Steel has at the moment. He didn't mind doing it. So he cut the shingles in half and he sharpened it on a cinder block, a concrete cinder block, and he was ready to go. He was good to go. So this more affordable softer steel does have its place in the cutlery world. It has kind of a bad rap because of these super affordable knives like the Roach Belly, the Canadian belt knife, the Finn Wolf, the Finn Barrel, the Outdoorsman Lite, the Tanno Lite, because those knives are so cheap money-wise, and in construction, I guess you can say. There's really not a whole lot to them. It's just a blade with a molded plastic handle or a synthetic handle that people just assume, oh, they're cheap, they're not that good. Which, if you ever used a Mora, you know that argument is invalid. In fact, I like to compare these knives to Mora and say these are like the Cold Steel's versions of a Mora knife. I think Mora is slightly better, but these are kind of in the same category of knife. And I actually, like I said, I EDC'd this knife. I like this knife because it reminds me of a Persian knife, even though it's a kind of a British-American type knife, but it reminds me of the Persian version. But, yeah, these have the same steels. This, let me look at the price from Cold Steel's website. It's very affordable, and it's on back order at the moment because they're getting a new sheath for it. This is $20 MSRP from Cold Steel, which if you shop online like on Amazon or something, I don't have Amazon pulled up at the moment, it's going to be considerably more affordable than $20, and maybe around the $15 mark. This knife, you're going to be slightly disappointed in the price. Not that the price isn't worth it, but you're thinking, this is a $20 knife for that steel. How much is this going to cost? Well, MSRP from the Cold Steel factory, like I said, you're going from Cold Steel's factory buying this, is $49.99. That's the price my brother paid because he was so excited about this knife, he didn't want to wait for it to come out on Amazon. And you can argue, well, is it worth it? You got a kind of a mediocre steel. It's not, I hate to use the word mediocre because it's not a bad steel. It's just not the newest, greatest, hardest super steel. It's a very affordable, you know, low cost steel. Why does it cost so much more than the Roach Belly? Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. It's a folding knife. Folding knives have a lot more mechanical moving parts to them. They have a pocket clip, locking mechanism, you got the pivot, thumb stud, all the hardware makes this knife more expensive to produce than a CNC cutout blade with a molded handle on it. So that's why it costs so much more to have like basically the same knife. I mean, when I say the same knife, I'm talking roughly the same size and materials. Now, this knife does have a street price. I think it's on Midway USA for $37.99, which isn't bad. I'd like to see it less than that, and I haven't seen it on Amazon yet. But this knife, yes, is a little bit more expensive than you might think, just because it has a folding locking mechanism. There's some things I really like about this knife. First off, I love the hollow grind. My brother, for my birthday or Christmas several years ago, got me a full flat ground Voyager. And don't get me wrong, it's a good knife. I personally don't care for it as much because it's full flat ground. I think it's kind of ugly. I don't mind using it as a machete or as a beetle knife. But if I'm going to carry a Voyager, I'm going to carry, for self-defense, I'm going to carry the Vaquero because I think it's just a cool blade shape, and with my testing it has a more practical, tactical blade shape and geometry for self-defense. Even though it's still floor flat ground, the point geometry on the Vaquero is a lot better than this. This isn't bad, it's just I like the Vaquero better for that application. But yes, if this was hollow ground just like the Pro Lite, I would probably go crazy for it and would really, really love it. The different grind lines with the hollow ground, a cutting edge, and the swedge on top. And I'd like to take this moment to do a public service announcement. I didn't know this at first. I did the same thing, but I've educated myself since then. This is a swedge. It doesn't have an edge on it. It's not sharp. It's a swedge. If this top grind on this clip point was sharp enough to cut, like the edges actually met at a bevel at an edge, it would be called a false edge. It's not called a false edge because it's a fake edge. It's a sparring or fencing term for the edge that faces top, you know, for back cuts and stuff. So a false edge and a swedge is not the same thing, although some people, even myself at one point, used them interchangeably. This is actually a swedge. But yes, with the hollow ground primary cutting edge and the swedge, makes it a very, very attractive knife, gives it a very acute point for pierce cuts, you know, piercing and cutting, point-driven cuts. And I like the fact that the handle is relatively smooth. You can see there's some texturing to it, but it's not nearly as aggressive as this Maltese cross pattern on the Voyager. So this is very easy on the pants pocket. It's not going to rough them up as quickly as the Voyager or any of Cold Steel's Peel Ply G10 or anything like that. My brother did do an action job on this, so it is, although I screwed that up, it's very smooth. It doesn't come like that from the factory. My brother likes to, you know, do action jobs on his knife and modify them to a certain extent. So just keep that in mind. It's a good knife, but it's not quite as a high-speed, low drag as you see in the video. It is made in Taiwan. Sorry there, I saw the German and I was like, it's not made in Germany. That's just the steel. Triad lock. It has kind of a flare to it right here, which is going to help for your fingers from slipping forward on the blade. I would not call this a tactical knife per se. To me, this isn't made to be a tactical knife. You could use it as a self-defense knife, as with most knives you can, but it's not a knife that I would necessarily say, yes, this is the knife of choice. You know, if I lived in a state that greatly limited the knives I could carry for self-defense, I would carry this, but I'd also, well, this is a pretty affordable knife compared to Emerson, so it's not like Emerson is a competitive option. This is the better option compared to Emerson as far as getting the bang for your buck and the performance, because Emerson actually backs up the Rockwell Hardness on the 154 cm. I'm not saying it's as soft as this, but you're not getting the full potential of the 154 cm from Emerson. So this has good ergonomics. It's not something that I necessarily, you know, would take into battle. But as far as an EDC knife that has the capability of being used in self-defense, which that's such a dumb argument, I shouldn't even bring that up. All knives pretty much have this capability if you're desperate enough. But this has reasonable ergonomical advantage in a self-defense situation. It's not great, it's not awesome, but it'll work. Has a lanyard hole. Now let's talk about the steel 154 cm, not 154 cm, 4116 Krupp, which both of these knives are made out of. I've tried filming this video several times and got interrupted by the dog, so I don't know if I said this already. My brother likes to carry these knives to the beach. He likes to use them at the beach for well, he likes to carry 4116 corrupt steel at the beach because it's very, very soft. It's easy to maintain as far as sharpening, and it's very, very corrosion resistant. It's not as corrosion resistant as H1, and I have to say that because H1 has no carbon in it. It can't rust. It physically can't happen because it has no carbon. At least I can't think of any way of getting it to rust. But 4116 corrupt steel has to be a close second, and well, maybe a close third in corrosion resistance. I know those other nitrogen hardened steels out there that Benchmade makes and stuff. So this is a good third place, affordable beach knife. Although if I was going to get a beach knife, I'll get the Roach Belly, the Thin Wolf, the Canadian belt knife. I wouldn't get the Pro Lite as a bait knife. If you're going to be like in the water, well, you can, because I do it. But you know, as a tackle box knife, I would spend less on a knife, on a tackle box knife, than I would for a knife that I would carry around town. Like, if I'm going to be carrying an EDC knife around a Galveston, I would use the Pro Lite. But if I'm going to have a knife in the tackle box purely for the purpose of abusing, I would have the Roach Belly or something in that same product line. So that's where I think these knives really shine. As far as the blade steel is very, very easy to maintain. It doesn't rust very easily. You can touch it up and get it razor sharp with very little work, unless you just take the edge completely off. Then you have to, you know, reprofile it. But if you're just touching it up on a daily basis, it's not going to be a big issue. You could probably strop these on a daily basis and maintain their edges, maintain a decent edge. They're really soft, but they're not too soft. You know, they have actual hardness to them. They can get a razor edge, and they can hold it reasonably well considering what the steel is. And I really like both of these knives. I like the hollow grind. And as you can see, the hollow grind kind of goes past the swedge, so you get a very, very thin, acute tip. Usually when I'm using an EDC knife, I'm using the tip for my cutting. I'm not really starting at the heel of the blade and drawing it through, because I'm opening stuff. I'm opening up packages, mail. I'm cutting saran wraps off of cases of paper. So I'm usually using this part of the edge the most, from here to here. Every now and then, cutting rope and stuff, of course, I'm going to use further down the edge, but usually that's it. That's what I'm mostly using with my EDC knives. Very good knife. I would wait for Amazon to come up with this knife to see if it's any cheaper. I think $37, well, it's probably a good price, but I'd like to see it a little bit cheaper. But definitely the Roach Belly is a good price wherever you find it. This, although I don't think it's worth 50 bucks, it is genuinely a good knife, and I've enjoyed using it. I'd like to see a dressier version of this to make it less tactical and more aesthetically pleasing. I find the blade aesthetically pleasing, but just not the handle. As you know, I'm kind of drifting away from the black knife fad. I would much prefer to carry something like this, which is still black, but it has that jeweled anodized titanium. I need to get it repaired. It's missing its screws and the latch is broken. But I like attractive knives. So this is kind of blocky to me. I'd like to see a more polished version of it. That's just my personal view on it as I see it. But good knife. Don't be put off by the steel, because here lately Cold Steel's been playing with a lot of super steels and stuff. Try out this 4116 steel if you haven't. I think you'll be very pleased with it. So that's it. I'm a Satsu 5 and I'm out.